Welcome to Texas Talk on the Texas Insider Network, where we bring you the voices of Texas straight to your iPhone, to your computer, and to any social media avenue throughout the state of Texas.
And as we say, it's from the corner of the Austin Capitol to any corner of the state. We want to give you a voice because your voice is very important and we want to hear from you.
And we want you to participate. This is obviously a new platform for all of us, and your participation is absolutely imperative.
Want to say something about politics, something about cultural issues, social issues? This is the platform.
Let us know, and we'll take your comments to the next interview. We're also going to have Commissioner Todd Staples from Harlingen, Texas, where he's visiting some of his constituents down in the valley. As you know, that's a major agricultural area for the state, very important for trade in Mexico. So we're going to talk about some issues regarding Mexico, immigration, water, and some of the real important things in the state of Texas, and to all of you. Commissioner, welcome to the show. First of all, tell us where you are, where you're broadcasting from, and tell us a little bit about what does the Ag Commissioner do?
Well, I'm in Harlingen, Texas today, and excited to be in the dynamic Rio Grande Valley, a big part of our state's economy. Obviously, the front door to Texas, and got a lot of people that are focused on economic development, growing jobs, and that's really what my mission is as Commissioner of Agriculture. Obviously, to be an advocate for our state's farmers and ranchers, which is a big part of our state's economy, a little over 9% of our entire gross state product. We know we don't like being dependent on foreign oil. We cannot become dependent on foreign food. But the Commissioner of Agriculture in our agency probably has one of the broadest missions of any state agency: economic development, working with our schools on the National School Lunch Program, regulating gas pumps to make certain that you get every ounce of gas that you pay for at the pump. So we do a lot of these things, but what we've done the last few years is really look at ways that we can reduce our cost and provide greater services. And I'll give you a couple examples. Sure. We worked with the legislature to abolish a couple of agencies. One was the Structural Pest Control Board. The other was the Texas Department of Rural Affairs. We're providing the same level of service or better at the Texas Department of Rural Affairs with fewer number of employees and with lower administrative costs. Because I think that's the way government needs to operate. We need to come up with savings, make certain that we're not a burden on the job creators, which is the private sector.
That's right.
And I know the trade that we work with is very important because 96% of the world's consumers live outside the borders of the United States. So trade needs to be something on the mind of all Texans.
Excellent.
Good. And I wanted to interrupt you, Commissioner, just to congratulate you because your birthday is coming up. And
his wife's birthday, too.
And your wife's birthday at the same time. So who's going to pay for the dinner?
You know, it's great. We have the same birthday. We have the same anniversary. It minimizes the things I need to remember every year. It's a great thing. And Janet is a great partner, and we'll have a lot of fun. And I think I will treat her because she does so much for me all the time.
Fantastic.
That's excellent.
So on a serious note, Commissioner, what do you think on now the next steps? I mean, you're going to be running for another office. What do you think you offer the state of Texas that no one else offers?
Well, when I think about this next race, to me, it's more about not just the next election. It's about the next generation. We know our economic success is not because of anybody in Austin. It's because of men and women who are working hard in communities all across Texas. And we need a leader. And this election is about leadership, about rolling up our sleeves, working hard, making sure that Austin is a partner and not an obstacle. Look, one size does not fit all. Texas is very diverse. We have very different climates, geographies, just a lot of things. And we need Austin to recognize that the best ideas come from the communities, the incubators that are out there growing jobs. And I have served in my local community. I come from a very different background. A small business owner, had to go out and build my business from scratch. Worked on my local city council, was involved in local economic development, served in both the House and the Senate, where I fought for tax cuts in both chambers, because I know we need to keep taxes low. We need to keep regulations fair. I have stood up for landowners who are being abused through an eminent domain process that was unfair to them. And I helped bring coalitions together to stand up for their rights at a time when I know we have to build roads and we have to provide infrastructure, but we can do that in a way that sends the message to the nation that we care about the rights of private property owners. I have stood up against the administration who sought to impose job-killing EPA mandates on our state because we have to stand up for our state's rights. But we need to be partners. We need to be recognizing that we need to find those areas where we can work. And so I think that's what I bring to this race, different from anyone else. And this race is about this next generation, and I'm glad to be a part of that and look forward to a robust campaign.
Commissioner, that's great. Great to hear that. You know, one of the things that involves our state of Texas, it's really important, is obviously the trade with Mexico. About $12 to $13 billion a month flows through our southwest border, just in Texas alone. Give me some of your views. What are you thinking as Lieutenant Governor? What would you do to improve those relationships, to make sure that we increase that trade, facilitate that trade, and obviously, and also the legitimate travel that supplements a lot of our economy here in the state of Texas, especially during certain times of the year that, as you know, Mexican nationals flood our malls, our hotels, and so forth. We want to facilitate that. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking about that.
You know, when I think of Mexico, I think of a very valuable trading partner, a partner that is responsible for a lot of the economic activity that occurs in Texas. Many of the jobs, the thousands of the jobs, and millions of dollars of trade for our entire nation. And so I think of a country that we need good things for, because we all want our neighbors to do well. And when our neighbors do well, we all do well. But I also recognize that we have some extreme difficult situations that we're encountering today. We know we have a workforce in our nation that is not kept up with the needs that we have. I had a meeting with a sod farmer a few weeks ago.
Right.
He uses the H-2A visa program.
That's right.
He has advertised every year in compliance with the law for 10 years to advertise for American workers to fill those jobs. And he looked at me and he said, "Do you know how many people have applied?" And I guessed a number, and he said 0.
Wow.
No applications domestically. But we know we have a failed workforce system today that has created a shadow economy that is unfair to U.S. taxpayers, it's unfair to legal migrants, and it's unfair to those workers who are trapped in a shadow economy who have come to our nation illegally. I think we need to be pro-legal immigration. We need to have a system that is fair to American businesses, because our system today, unfortunately, makes it harder to hire a legal migrant than it does an illegal worker. And that's just backwards. So we need to reform our system, and that's why, as Commissioner of Agriculture, I responded to the pleas of landowners who are being abused by the drug cartel members, and I got to work with them. I was in a DPS helicopter in the middle of the night, watching what was going on, and I thought, you know, how much more could we help and enforce the laws of our land if we had a legal system for those that want to be a part of our economy. And that's why I developed a 6-point immigration reform plan that does not include amnesty, but does start with border security, but looks at this from a perspective of we need markets to be able to help develop these solutions, not antiquated laws, which is what we have in our nation today.
Got it. So just as a follow-up, right now there's the debate going on in D.C. As you know, it passed the Senate, comprehensive immigration reform. What would you do better to better the immigration reform process that's happening at the Congress? What would you do? Would you add? What would you delete from it?
Two specific things. One is, I know firsthand from landowners that the drug cartels are riding roughshod over them, and unfortunately, our administration has said that the border is safer than ever. that's problematic for our landowners who know differently. So we need to have a different set of metrics than what is in the Gang of Eight bill. Secondly, the Gang of Eight bill has artificial quotas, just like the 1986 bill did, for the number of visas that are allowed. I think that needs to be on a more market-based system, not on an artificial quota system. And I might point out that my 6-point plan for immigration reform, step 6 is modernize our ports. We need a system that allows for the free flow of trade. Americans can compete with anybody in the world if we have a level playing field. Free trade should not worry our consumers. It should not worry our workers, because we know what's happened with the growing economies in China and in India. American jobs have moved over there. Now with low-cost natural gas, manufacturing in America is more feasible than at any other time in recent history. We need to capitalize on that, and having a modern port system that has the technology to move people and goods, to restrict the bad things that we don't want in our country from coming in, is very important. I wish that the Gang of Eight bill was not so prescriptive when it comes to artificial quotas, because I just feel like that's a recipe for disaster.
Interesting. You know, as Lieutenant Governor, obviously the state of Texas, the DPS, plays a vital role to supplement where the federal government leaves off, especially when you're talking border security. Give us some of your thoughts on how do you see that operating and working hand in hand? And before that, I would say that we know that the Border Patrol, they want to augment numbers. I don't know that this immigration reform is going to, comprehensive immigration reform is going to pass as the Senate has prescribed it, because obviously we can't afford to triple the Border Patrol. It sounds like a great soundbite, but you know, technology can do a heck of a lot better job. But more importantly, we got folks in the DPS that have supplemented. So what are you thinking about? How would the DPS get involved in continuing to supplement those where the federal government has fallen off or fallen short?
I think, Nelson, you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned the word technology. One single word that is revolutionized our lives, and that can be a big factor in helping us secure our border, and to have a modern visa program that meets the needs, that doesn't infringe on American workers' rights.
That's right.
In a meeting right before our interview today, I was with a farmer who had a water tank that the drug cartels had hidden a substantial quantity of drugs in his water tank. Our law enforcement found out about it. They apprehended it. Obviously, he's a legitimate Texas businessman, and he got his property back, but it was because of a lot of a frustration. As Commissioner of Agriculture, I have saved money in our budget through efficiencies that we've instituted, and we have given grants to the Department of Public Safety to aid in a really good program called Operation Drawbridge.
Excellent.
Operation Drawbridge is a low-cost, high-tech, high-impact program that uses game cameras, basically the kind of technology that we use, that hunters use, to be the extra eyes on the border, and that's resulted in some phenomenal results. Apprehension of 16,000 individuals and over 35 tons of narcotics. So, as Lieutenant Governor, my vision is, let's help our men and women in uniform that are protecting our country. We know we don't have the Border Patrol numbers in Texas that our sister states have. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I think our federal government needs to give Texas at least what they have in our other states. Let's use technology, but let's reform our immigration system, more specifically our guest worker program, where people are coming into our country in the light of day across our bridges, not during the middle of the night through the brush illegally. We can be better than that. We can be smarter than that, and we can do it in a way that upholds the sovereignty of our nation. We need to be pro-legal immigration, and we need to be sending the right message about who we are as Americans. A lot of that's getting hijacked today in Washington. Texas has 2/3 of our entire southern border with Mexico. We have the second highest population of undocumented immigrants. It's in our best economic interest our best public safety interest to solve this right. That's why I've been working on it and actually wrote a book about it called Broken Borders, Broken Promises, because we don't have to compromise who we are to solve the problems of our day.
Now, second to last question, because I know Nelson's going to have the last question as always. But Latino population-wise, we have a huge Latino population in the state. Are you planning to invite them during the primaries, or are we going to wait till the general election, which has been the case? I mean, it's going to be a very contended race, and the Democrats are really, really doing a big effort. So what do you think would be the Republican platform to invite Latinos to participate in the primary process?
Or even specifically when your campaign, reaching out to Hispanics now.
Yeah, and I've done quite a bit of that already. I co-hosted an event called Una Nation Under God in Austin to talk about workforce reform, immigration reform, how we as a state and a nation can engage. I've been and talked to Hispanic leaders all across Texas and people who are maybe not in a leadership position, but men and women who are trying to raise their families. And here's my conclusion. You know, I don't think Texans really care about the color of our skin, what our zip code happens to be, our last name. We live in a state that has embraced the American dream and is very much alive today. I think that's what our message needs to be, and that's really who I am. My father worked in a glass factory in the hot end for 36 years. Very difficult work. I worked there myself for a short period of time. And I know that upward mobility is available for any person that wants to work hard, get a good education. And that's my vision and that's my message. I think we make a mistake if we try to do carve-outs. All of us want the same thing. We want a quality of life. We want a good job. We want the government to get out of our lives and to allow us to raise our families. And that's the kind of lieutenant governor I want to be for the Lone Star State.
You know, that's excellent. You know, there's a lot of folks vying for your office now, as you know. There's 2 or 3, and I know there's probably another 2 or 3 that are going to be announcing sometime soon. And I know it's the only office, I believe it's the only office in the state of Texas, statewide, that actually by statute has some rules and qualifications to be able to run for. Can you tell us a little bit about those qualifications? I know you're eminently qualified because you definitely have the background and you've done a wonderful job, but for those that are looking at your office now and to step into your shoes, what are some things that they need to be looking at, and and if you could tell us a little bit about the statute itself, that'd be super.
Yeah, the statute requires that you have to have been engaged in the business of agriculture or have land that qualifies for an agricultural valuation. And there's 2 or 3 other categories. You could have worked in for an agriculturally based company. And so that's what's in statute. But, you know, I'm glad you asked that because I think Texans need to think about who their next commissioner of agriculture is.
Right.
This is a job that requires being an advocate for our state, being a manager of regulatory programs, doing it in a way that protects consumers, but also in a way where businesses want to do business in Texas because it's a level playing field. All businesses are treated fairly while you protect consumers. So agriculture, I wish all Texans, and we have a lot of urban Texans today who are removed from, you know, the agricultural community, but everything in our lives, the clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, our medicines today stems from agriculture, agricultural research, and it's a big part of our state's economy. So I hope that consumers are thinking about it along with all the statewide offices that they have to focus on in this next election.
Commissioner Staples, thanks a million for your time, and really we want to follow up with you more often because, I mean, you can do now this within the comfort of any place that you're going to be at. So that's right. Fantastic.
Commissioner, thank you. As we've talked many times, and I'm sure we'll talk throughout the campaign, keep going at it. Thanks again for your time. And like I said, from the corners of the state of Texas, anywhere we can broadcast, social media, iPhone, and any other platform. So thanks for participating and getting into our viewers' computer. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for talking about the issues that are important to the lives of Texans. And ToddStaples.com is my website. You can find out more about my positions and my my policies there. Thank you all for
Thank you.
raising the
Thanks
good
a million.
questions.
See you soon.
All right.
So there you heard it. Straight from the corners of Texas, right into your computer, your iPhone, and your living room. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
And do us a favor, send us an email on the email that you see on your screen, or follow us on Twitter, on each of the tweeters that you see on your screen as well. And let us know what we need to talk about. Who do you want us to interview? Who do you want to have next? Because the most important voice we want to promote in this show is your voice.
And whether that's a border mayor from El Paso, Texas, or whether that's a county commissioner from Cameron County in Brownsville area, we can do it on the show. Stay tuned.
See you soon.